says I'm live. Hopefully that's true. I'm jumping in just a little bit early to make sure that everything is working. Let's see here. Make sure. I've got this up on like 2 different things to make sure that everything works. Hey, there we go. Okay, it looks like we're working. Hooray! That's exciting. Thanks, Joe. I appreciate the confirmation that everything is working. Hey, Dreaming Truth author, good to see ya. Okay, so I'm hoping that we don't have any issues. There are some fires burning close to where I am, and apparently that's affecting my ISP. The test I did, the sound was fine. Everything was fine. It's just my video had points where it was like, I'm looking over here for like 10 seconds, and then I'm looking here for 10 seconds, and I'm looking here for 10 seconds. So if it does that, let me know in the chat. But hopefully the sound continues fine and there's no issues whatsoever, because the sound's really what matters. The fires are very far away, so don't worry too much about that. But somehow it's affecting my ISP, so I'm not sure how it's doing that. But apparently it is. The magic of being in rural areas is that sometimes something happens 150 miles away and then you're like, oh, I guess that affects us, which is so fun. But welcome everyone. It is the top of the hour and this is the Authortube Writing Conference. I am Elaine Canyon. I am a romantasy comedy author and a former graphic designer. I still do a little bit of it, but I now write full time. And we're going to talk about cover diagnostics, figuring out when your cover is the problem, and what you can do to help solve that and how you can be able to really identify it. And we're going to do it. I meant to grab this before. Hold on. It's over here. Everything's gonna fall. No, it's not. Okay. And we're gonna do that using this cover and another cover too, but I never got a print book of that cover. So this is the print cover. We're gonna talk about this cover. This is Love Ships and Sea Serpents. This was my debut novelette, and it had some really great things about it. And this cover also has some things about it that don't work. And we're gonna talk about why. So I am gonna go off video to put these slides up because there's a lot on these slides, and every time I tried to like arrange it so my video would fit, it just wasn't working. So instead, we're gonna switch over to the slides and you're gonna hear me talk, and you'll be able to read all the slides and see everything, because that's important to me that you can read the slides. But let's jump on in. Okay, so welcome to Cover Diagnostics, how to know if your cover isn't working. So I am Elaine Canyon. I'm a wife and a mother. I'm married to a wonderful man. I've been married we're going on 15 years, which is super fun. I've got 2 wonderful children, love them to death. I'm a Christian. I'm a member of the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. And I am the author of lighthearted and stabby romantasy comedies. I'm also a former graphic designer. I have over 10 years of experience working in graphic design. I was creating logos for tech startups, logos and branding packages for tech startups. So I specialized in illustration of logos. So what are we doing? So we're going to try and create a framework to help you know if your cover is the problem. And I'm going to do that by teaching you how to use market research to determine if your cover is pulling its weight. And we're going to do that using my first 2 books as real life examples. So a short story called Love and a Bit of Disorder, and then my novelette called Love Ships and Sea Serpents. All right, so before we really dive in, I have a word of warning, and authors hate it when I say this, but it's so true. Your book cover is not a scene from your book. Your book cover is not pretty art, and your book cover should look like everyone else's, because your book cover is a marketing tool, and tools have a job to do. So let's make sure that your book cover is doing its job well. Now, before you jump in to immediately assuming that your book cover is the problem, you want to start with making sure that everything that costs a heck of a lot less is working. So you want to check your writing. Ask people who have read your book about story structure. if they are able to follow the story. Check and make sure that you're following genre conventions. Make sure that your grammar and your spelling are accurate. These are all things that you can do for reasonably low cost, sometimes no cost at all. So that's where you start. If you have a book that's not selling well, please start here. Start with your writing. Make sure that your writing is doing everything it's supposed to do. Then you're going to move on to your blurb. Your blurb is the back cover copy. You're going to look for feedback on that from other authors, from readers especially. Test different options. You can get help. This gets a little expensive sometimes. Getting a class or a professional to help you with your blurb can start racking up the cost. This is the point where I would look and see, okay, which is going to cost more? Fixing my cover or fixing my blurb with a professional, and then making your decision from there. And then also, the marketing? Are you pushing your book through at least two of these methods? One of them costs you nothing. Social media does not cost you anything. Newsletter and book swaps can cost money if you decide to use a platform like BookFunnel or Story Origin, but it doesn't have to, because you're able to go over to authors and make connections with authors and then offer to swap books. And that is a way to do it for free. But BookFunnel does have, and Story Origin both have their own promo setups where you can swap books that way. And then advertising. I personally do not pay for advertising. I don't do paid ads, but that is also something that you can use to help you test this, especially if you end up getting a new cover. You'll have two covers to test and do A/B testing with, and that's also an option. Make sure that you are pushing your book. We do not live in the day and age anymore where you can throw a book up and have it just go viral. That doesn't happen. Every book that goes viral because of years of pushing it and years of experience before that book, making sure that it was able to be the TikTok viral sensation that it was. So if you aren't pushing your book, no one's going to find your book. And so these three things happen before you jump in and start changing up your book cover. Because if these three things are working well, then it's a really good indication that your book cover is part of the problem. So first we have to know the market that you're trying to hit. You need to know your genre. And so you're going to identify your genre and your subgenre and the niche or niches that you write in. You also want to find comp titles, specifically like what else are your readers reading? And we'll dig more into this in just a little bit. And then you're going to do market research. And I'm going to teach you how to do this, but you're going to browse your subgenre on retailers, focusing on other indie author titles. I don't want you to focus on traditional published titles. Traditional publishers follow different book cover rules than indie authors do, and it shows. All right, so genre, we're going to break it down. So you obviously have your main genre. I write romance, I write fantasy, I write sci-fi, horror, mystery, nonfiction, what have you. These are the main genres. But then we're going to jump into subgenres. So personally, my main genre is romance, which means my subgenre is going to be under the romance category. And under the romance category, we have things like romantasy, we have paranormal romance, Western romance, Regency, suspense, the list goes on and on and on. There's tons of subgenres in the romance genre. Now, I personally write under the romantasy subgenre, and so now we go under niches of the romantasy subgenre. And there's cozy, there's adventure, there's comedy, there's clean, there's a whole plethora of niches within subgenres. And I actually write in all of those niches under the romantasy subgenre. Comp titles, like I said at the beginning, what are your readers reading? That is a huge option, like gold mine of things that you can pull from. If you have a newsletter already and you have a significant number of readers on your newsletter, like I would say you have more than 50 people on your newsletter, preferably more than 100, ask your readers. Do a poll in your newsletter and say, hey, what else are you reading? Tell me your favorite thing you're reading. If you don't have a newsletter, do it on social media. What else are you reading? Tell me what you are reading, because that's going to give you an idea of what other books your readers are attracted to aside from yours. And that's really helpful in determining your comp titles. You're also wanting to read in your subgenre and in your niches. So there's a whole lot of books that are going to be out there that are going to fall under your subgenre and fall under your niche, and not all of those books are going to be comp titles with you, but you're never going to know which ones will be until you start reading. And so talking to your readers, reading yourself within the area that you're writing, that's going to make a huge difference. And then connecting with those authors that write similar books to you, because they will also know authors who write similar books to them. And so that's going to help a lot too with being able to say, oh, I can, like, so-and-so's book and my book are really close together, and she says that she also thinks this other book is close to hers. It's probably close to mine too. I can go read it and I can make sure that, yes, it is, and I can start using that in my research. Now, we want books that feel like yours. This is about tone more than it's about the plot or the tropes. So again, when you're reading in your subgenre and your niche, you're looking for the book that you're like, oh, this felt like the book that I wrote. This had the same energy. This had the same level of humor. This focused on similar things that mine did. It might have been a completely different plot setup. It might have been completely different tropes than my book, but it felt like someone who loved my book was also going to love this book. That's the sort of thing you're going for, especially if you've written a book and you're like, well, none of these books are like mine. Because I hear that a lot from authors. I'll say, what are your comp titles? And they'll go, well, I don't know, because I've never read a book like this before. That's fine. I don't need you to tell me, oh, well, this is my pirate romantasy, and that is also a pirate romantasy, so this is my comp title. I want you to find the book that feels like the same experience or a similar experience to what your book is giving your readers. Okay, so you've gone through, you know your subgenre, you know your niches, and you know your comp titles. Right now is the time to do the market research. Now, in the United States, Amazon is the best place to start this process, but I highly suggest you repeat it for every retailer that you're going to be offering your book on. So if you are wide, then you're going to want to do this with all of your wide retailers. You want to do it with Kobo, with Google Play Books, with Barnes & Noble, what have you. You're going to want to make sure that you're going through and doing this again and again, because what is being sold on other retailers is going to be different than what's being sold on Amazon a lot of the time, especially for like Kobo, because Kobo, their number one market is Canada. And so you're going to see things different over there than what you're going to see in the US. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that you want to change your cover for every location, but it does give you a good idea of what is selling on each retailer, and that will help you make decisions about what your cover is going to ultimately look like. So in the search bar, you're going to want to make sure, this is for Amazon, you're going to want to make sure that you're in the correct bookstore. So this is the Kindle store, because I'm looking specifically at ebooks. And then I'm going to put the niche plus the subgenre. So I'm going to put cozy romantasy, if that's what I'm writing. And then you're going to make sure that you are adjusting your sort by from the default, which will almost always be featured or people that have paid to play, and switch it to bestsellers. And then you'll need to do that every single time you change your search. So every time you put a new niche subgenre, you will need to change your sort by categories or your sort by from the featured category to the bestseller category, because Amazon just loves to work that way. So another place that you can dig down, so this is the product details for Love Ships and Sea Serpents as of like last week. And you'll see down at the bottom, there's bestseller rank. So it shows that it's number 6,693 in the free Kindle store. And so I could look at the top 100 in the free Kindle store, but I don't necessarily want to do that because that's not going to help me. But if you look down, I've got these other things that I've ranked in, and I've got clean and wholesome romance, and I've got 2-hour romance short reads, and I've got romantasy ebooks. those are places that can help me find good comp covers to check. So comp titles that I can look at their covers and get a feel for what's selling. Because when I click on those categories down there, it's actually going to take me to the top 100. So if you click on Clean and Wholesome Romance, it's only going to show you the first 100 books. It's not actually going to show you, it won't go far enough in to show you that this is number 177. And so you're going to want to, it'll show you what's going to actually be selling well in those categories. And that will give you more options to look at covers and get a better idea. Now, part of this is sometimes that's helpful, sometimes it's not. I actually would only do this for romantasy ebooks in this situation. So if I were doing this again for my book, which I've already done it, and we'll talk about that in a minute, but if I were doing this again, I would only do it for romantasy ebooks, because Clean and Wholesome Romance is a category on Amazon that covers all of the romance subgenres. So I'm in there, but so is the top selling free, or I don't know if it does. No, it doesn't do free. So the top selling hockey romance, Clean and Wholesome Hockey Romance. That's not helpful for me. Same with the 2-hour romance short reads. I'm going to be in there. Excuse me. I'm going to be in there with all of the other books that are also romance, but aren't in my subgenre or in my niche. And that's not going to be helpful. So it's a good place to look at stuff, but it's not necessarily where you want to say, oh, well, all of this is good. You do need to think through, is this actually going to be helpful to go through this category and figure out, or this rank, this bestseller rank, and figure out if that's helpful for finding what my cover should look like. The also bought or also read of your comp titles, and specifically your book, if you're going through and changing your book's cover, that's a great place to go. So these are the also bots and also reds for Love Ships and Sea Serpents as of like a week and a half ago. And already looking at it, you can kind of see one of these things doesn't necessarily belong. A couple of these don't belong. There's another book in there that I'm like, oh, I don't know if I necessarily would have had you do your cover that way. But you can already see that my cover doesn't match very well. And so that if you're doing this, go look at, like, if you're wondering if your cover is part of the problem, go look at your also bought and also read and compare your cover to what's in those pages. There's usually like 3 to 5 pages there for you to click through and put your cover up next to and say, oh, does this work? Does it look like my cover fits? Can it stand next to this one and say, yeah, I'm the same kind of book? There's also the Discover related books. These are books that Amazon algorithm thinks that your reader will like based on what is in your book and what your categories are. And so it'll go through and it'll throw up that different things for that. There's always more pages here. So if you can see, I don't know if you can see, it says page 1 of 13. So there's always more of that. And some of these, as I understand it, don't quote me on this, but as I understand it, this is a play-to-play place. Like, people can pay to make sure that they are in the Discover-related books. I don't know if that's accurate, but I have been told that. I've not researched it. Okay, so here are my real-life examples. Sorry, getting some water. So, Love and Bit of Disorder was a short story that I wrote in 2023, and I entered it in for an anthology with the idea that if it didn't make it into the anthology, I was just going to publish it myself. It would just be my lead magnet. It is now my lead magnet, but it did make it into that anthology. By making it into that anthology, it took away, like, I gave the anthology my print and my my print and my ebook rights for a year. So from November 23rd or 28th, something like that, the end of November 2023 until the end of November 2024, I didn't have the print or the ebook rights to the book. They belonged to the anthology because the book was in KU. So what I did was I went through and I recorded the whole thing into an audiobook. And I made my audiobook book cover, and I made my ebook cover to be ready for when I got the print rights back. And so that is what the purple book is. And then you can see what the current cover for that book is now and how different those are. And then Love, Ships, and Sea Serpents was the novelette that I published on Leap Day 2024. And the new cover is there off to the right, and that's what's going to come out later this year, as soon as I get it to all of the Kickstarter backers first. So once all of the Kickstarter backers have this new cover, then all of my retailers and my direct store will also have it. And we're going to talk about why these shifts happened, and you can see that they were kind of drastic shifts in the way that the covers look. So the genre, we're going to walk through everything that I told you to do. We're going to walk through with these books. Okay, so the genre, these are romance books, specifically romantasy. Love and a Bit of Disorder falls under cozy and comedic. And then Love, Ships, and Sea Serpents falls under adventure and comedy. I could also throw pirates in there if I wanted to. That would also be something, but I was starting to run out of room on these slides, as you can see. And then I went through and I found comp titles. And I'm going to show you how we did comp titles, but these are the main comp titles that I picked. These are books that had similar feels to mine. And I did that through talking to a lot of authors about what their books felt like and if they knew books that had similar feels, and then I read a lot. And so that's how I found these books as my comps as far as comp title goes. If you look at Love, Ships, and Sea Serpents, only that bottom one of the stars and the sea, and I know it's small on the screen, that's the only pirate book. And the other two are not pirate books, and they have completely different tropes than mine have. But they are all adventure, and they all have comedic elements to them. So the market research that I did for Love, Ships, and Sea Serpents, I started with funny romantasy. I also did clean romantasy. I searched pirate romantasy. And it's been a while since I'd done this research, and I didn't take screenshots when I did the research. And so I went through and I did it again about 3 weeks ago. And this is what you see. So off to the right, I have the original cover for Love, Ships, and Sea Serpents, and I have the new cover. And then off to the left, I have the top 12 books in bestsellers for funny romantasy. And you can already see that my original cover doesn't necessarily look like it fits. It sort of stands out, and not necessarily in a bad way, but it just doesn't look like it belongs. And that's what we're talking about here when it comes to when I tell authors that you absolutely do want your book to look like everyone else's. This is what I'm talking about. Because the original cover, when someone's scrolling through funny romantasy in the Kindle store, they're going to see my book and they're going to go, well, I don't know what that is. Because it doesn't look like everything else that they're looking at. Now, yes, there are the personality types that are going to say, oh, well, I'm going to click on that because that doesn't look like everything else and I'll figure it out. Those are the personality types that are few and far between. Most people, the majority of people, and we find this isn't just in book covers, this is in all design. This is taught in all marketing graphic design courses. If you don't look like you belong, the majority of people skip over you. They're not going to hang out and try and figure it out. They don't have time. And so they'll just jump over to the next thing that looks like it fits because that requires less effort on their part. Whereas the bottom cover looks like it fits. The bottom cover sits next to My Funny Demon Valentine and Don't Hex and Drive without any, like, there's nothing that jars you out of it. And so those are things that to keep in mind as you're looking at what your cover does and does not have in common with the covers that are around it. So then for Love and a Bit of Disorder, I start with cozy romantasy, and I do the same thing over again. I also did it with clean romantasy. I also did it with funny romantasy, but cozy is the main category that this book falls under. It is a very cozy book, and it's ranch hands in a fantasy world. Like, it's super cozy. And this is what comes up when I did that search about 3 weeks ago. And it is, again, you can see that there's a difference. You can see that that top cover doesn't stand out in a good way. It stands out in a way that you kind of look at it and go, wait, what? Whereas the bottom cover looks like it could sit next to Winter Frost Market without any issues and it would be fine. Let's see. Joe says, Six Cats Press says, is there a definition for things like cozy? Cozy means low stakes. So cozy means that I'm not saving the world. No one's going to die. The biggest issue is like, is my job going to be okay? Or am I going to win the baking contest? If you want the definition of cozy romance, cozy fantasy romance for me is... what is her name? Jay Penner is the author. Jay as the letter, not as a name. And she wrote A Fellowship of Bakers and Magic, I think it's what it's called. It is darling and adorable, and it is the coziest thing you'll ever read. Because it really is just about a group of magical people having Great British Bake Off, essentially. And they all work together, and there's magic, and everything ends happily, and at no point in the story are you like panicked. Like, it is just, it's the definition of a warm hug. If a book could give you a warm hug, that's what a cozy romantasy would be. But you can see how that bottom cover fits a heck of a lot better with these top 12 books. And this is just the top 12. That's all I did was pull the top 12. When I did this research originally, I went through the full 100 because there were 100 responses to this, 100 books in my results search for cozy romantasy. And I went through all of them. So how did I end up with books that didn't work, or book covers that didn't work? So I did start this process the correct way. I figured out that I was romantasy, I knew it was adventure and clean and pirates, and then I started looking for comp titles. Now, if you go down on this little list here, or arrow here, you'll see that there's a book cover here called A Court of Tricksters by S.L. Prater. Those of you who have watched my cover design videos know that this is my favorite book cover ever. It is absolutely my favorite book cover. The whole series, the covers for these books are gorgeous. They're amazing. The designer is St. Jupiter, and she is a fabulous artist. And the watercolor effect with the depth and everything that she did for this 5-book series, I absolutely fell in love. I wanted desperately to have the same feel of cover. And so that's what I created. That's where the original book cover for Love Ships and Sea Serpents came from, was kind of my own tribute, love letter to St. Jupiter's designs for S.L. Prater's series, for her Court of Tricksters series. Now, here's the thing. No one else does these covers. And S.L. Prater has since gone on and had St. Jupiter make updated covers, like all of the ebook covers, or all of the audiobook covers are slightly different. And I wouldn't be surprised if in 5 to 10 years, S.L. Prater rebrands the whole series, because she had a really good following already of readers, and they all just jumped on and went with her, and they weren't worried about what the covers looked like. She was an established author, or she is an established author with a wide audience, and for her to switch to this style of cover, it didn't really do much. It wasn't a big deal. Here's the kicker, though. I had no audience. I had nothing to let people know that they were going to still get the kind of book they expected. So instead, I ended up with a book cover that has a title that tells you it's fantasy, and a cover that leans more in line with the covers for Regency fantasy and for rom-com. So it doesn't look the way it should. Now, if you follow the arrow up, these are the comp covers that I picked after I realized the mistake I had made. And looking at those, I realized, oh, this is more in line with what I need to do. And then at this point, I was writing enough and busy enough that I hired a designer. And so I hired Get Covers and gave them these covers and gave them a mock-up that I had made. And I have a video about that. And they were able to create something that matched. So that was how I ended up here. And because I ended up at this cover, I actually made this cover first. I made this cover in the middle of 2023 as I was finishing Love Ships and Sea Serpents. So because I had made this cover, I immediately went to make this cover and realized that it had to be in line with that one because I wanted my covers to all have a similar feel. And so this was the ebook cover, and this was the audiobook cover, and this was the ebook cover I made. So I didn't even go look at my comp titles because in my head, I was like, well, I want these book covers to look the same, which is great, except that they're two completely different niches inside of the romantasy subgenre, and they shouldn't look the same. Now, the ultimate ending of each book cover is that they are similar, but they're not the same. And when I finally went through and found real comp titles, as opposed to just saying, well, this is what my first book cover looked like, therefore this is what it has to look like, and found good comp titles with these and with Get Covers, we were able to get a cover together that communicated better what the genre was. So, is your cover the problem? Well, first, we've learned that you need to check all your bases. Your writing is a lot cheaper to fix because that doesn't cost anybody but you, and potentially having a friend or reaching out to readers to find out what could be made better. But your writing is a very inexpensive way to check for things. Your blurb is also a reasonably inexpensive thing to test. You can rewrite it and put your blurb back up there. When you are testing blurbs, make sure you give it a good month. I wouldn't put a blurb up and then watch for a week and then put another blurb up and watch for a week. I would give it a good month. It's a lot to expect Amazon to respond quickly. And when Amazon ads experts tell you that you won't know if an ad is working for at least a month, sometimes longer, I would highly suggest that you use the same metric and that you ensure that you're not going too fast to test things. So if you go through and you change significant things in your book for the writing and upload it, I would give it a month before you start making decisions on whether or not things really actually got fixed. And then same with your marketing. If you are concerned that your book cover is the problem, if you don't have a lot of money to blow, I really do not suggest making or choosing ads as a way to test that. I would suggest that you use other methods like social media, like book funnel swaps. If you are doing book funnel or story origin swaps, you can have two different sign-up pages, and you can test one swap with one book cover and one swap with another book cover. And those are things that you can do in marketing to help you kind of get a feel for it if you are making your own covers, or if you have the money to have multiple covers made. I do know authors that their designer sends them two different covers and they say, oh, I love both of those. And so they buy both of them. If you have that kind of ability, then that's a good way to test. Make sure that you do know your genre. Yes, Joe, A/B testing is what that's called. Make sure you do know your genre, your subgenre, and your niche. If you don't know those things, ask people for help. Ask people to read your book. Reading in your genre and reading in your subgenre and your niche will help a lot. But that's going to make a huge difference for you there. And then find your comp titles, focusing on your tone more than anything else. Asking your readers what else they're reading, and then reading in your niche genres. That will make a huge difference in you being able to spot whether or not your book cover is lining up with what you need it to match. And then we talked about market research. So using your new market research tools to ensure that your cover does fit in with everything else that you have put, or with every other book that you're able to stand with in your categories. Okay, so we're going to go back to me on camera. There we go. Awesome. So Leon, I did see your question. You said, do you use Publisher Rocket to inform your steps for marketing adjustments, etc.? I do know a lot of people who do that. I do not personally. Publishers Rocket has a whole bunch of amazing tools that you can use. I believe it just went to, I think it just went to a monthly subscription. I don't think it's a one-time payment anymore. Publisher Rocket is a lot of data. There's a whole bunch of data in there for you. So if that's something you like, and you like combing through data and figuring out what you can use it for, then that's a great tool. I am not someone who wants to comb through all the data. I don't like having to figure out everything on that front. I will do the data for my own stuff, but I don't like doing the data for everyone else's things. And so I don't use Publisher Rocket. I haven't bought it or paid for it. I don't know if I ever will, just because that's very much outside of my wheelhouse. Let's see. I'm going to keep scrolling through chat here and see if I missed any other questions. Let's see. See. And yeah, SD, so Shannon SD Houston pointed out that some of the comp titles when I did Funny Romantasy in Amazon, they weren't actually all that funny. They just had funny conversations in them. Part of that is because there aren't a lot of us yet. I am one of the few authors that I would consider a romantasy comedy author. There aren't a whole lot of us. We are slowly getting bigger. We're slowly gaining traction. My actual tagline is romantasy comedies, but I've shifted it to lighthearted and stabby because there's so few authors writing romantasy comedy that readers don't know to look for it. And so to be able to be more findable for readers, I have shifted my tagline. But I do write romantasy comedies. The whole point of my books are to make you laugh as we go through a romantasy adventure. So that's a lot of fun. Let's see. Okay, so for Shannon, you checked your also bots and they seem to be populated with different genres. So that's a pretty good indication that you have a lot of people buying your books who are not your genre readers. So you have maybe other authors buying your books because authors tend to read a little bit more widely. I've met most of the authors I've met read in multiple genres. They don't just read in the one that they write in. And so as you get more readers buying your books, that will hopefully shift because you do write genre. You write genre fiction. And so we want to see more readers coming in, and that will help to shift your also bots a little bit. In that situation, I would look at the Discover similar books. So like we talked about, let me make sure I remember what it's exactly called as I go back through my slides. Where is it? There it is. Discover related books. And so that would be something to help. Oh, sorry, Shannon. She says, nope, I don't want the bad news. Tell me that next week. Let's see. All right, I'm looking. If you guys have any other comments or questions, feel free to drop them in. I'm just scrolling through to make sure that I haven't missed anything. Oh, thank you, Leslie. She likes the new cover for Love Ships and Sea Serpents. I'm so happy. I am very happy with that. And I have an entire video that walks through working with Get covers and how to get that kind of cover from them. Because I know a lot of people they work with get covers and they're really unhappy with what they get. And the goal is to not be unhappy with what you get. The goal is to love what you get, but you do have to know how to work with them, because working with them or any design firm is going to be different than working with a professional designer. And so it's important to have an understanding of how they work, because they don't work the regular way. But yeah, well, thank you everybody so much. I am so happy for everyone that came. And if you are interested, you should fill out the giveaway form. So there's forms that are in there, and I think they're coming up in the chat with the moderators. But there's a form that you fill out. It's a feedback form, and so you can fill it out for each session that you watch. And when you fill it out, for every time that you fill it out, you get entered in to win some of the giveaway prizes. And they're amazing giveaway prizes. And one of them, I offer design consultations. So it's a 1 hour setup with me to be able to talk about any design that you're working on. And I will help walk you through whether it's getting a brief ready for a book cover, or talking about your branding or your logo, Kickstarter graphics, whatever it is that you're wanting help with. I sit down and we'll go over the whole thing and get it figured out, so that you can be successful with whatever design you choose to have. Okay, we've got a question. Let's see. Leon says, you mentioned publishing on Leap Day. Was this on purpose, just a coincidence, or there's Leap Day specials for publication promotions? Asking for a friend. So I did it on purpose, and I just did it for me. I thought it was cool that this book technically doesn't have a birthday except every 4 years. I thought that was fun. And so that was what I decided to do. And there's opportunities to do really fun things with this series. I'll have the series done, should have the series done by the time 2028 rolls around. And so being able to say that on Leap Day 2028, having yes, Shannon says the comedy writer chose a funny day to publish on. I did. And so I'll have the whole series done. And so Leap Day 2028, I could say, hey, we're going to do a whole bunch of fun things, because the whole Outcasts of Neverland series is finished. And it's the 1 year anniversary, technically, of Love Ships and Sea Serpents. It's its actual birthday. So yeah, there's a lot of fun things that I have planned for that I think will be a lot of fun. And I'm hopeful that it goes well. Awesome. Okay. Well, I think if anybody else has questions, go ahead and drop them in, and make sure that if you haven't, there are awards. And I'm not telling you this because I want an award. I'm telling you this because I want you to fill out the form, because I was the designer that did the award certificates. So if you fill out those forms and then go watch the Manic Monday stream that's going to be on SD Houston's channel on Monday, to give out the awards and to give out the giveaways and everything, then you'll get to see the certificates, the award certificates that I made with Shannon and with Cat Coffee. And so those are super fun. You should totally go fill that out and then go see who wins stuff, because it's going to be fun. And we had a lot of fun coming up with those. I got to be on that award committee, and we had an absolute blast. Oh, thank you so much, Nikki. Nikki loves the new Love Ships and Sea Serpents cover. Let's see. Inca also released on Leap Day. Yay! Oh, Manic Monday is on Devin's channel. I've got it wrong. It's on Devin's channel. Shannon is keeping me on track. It's on Devin's channel. So Devin Gamble Clark. So you want to go to her channel on Monday. It's in the playlist. Just go to the playlist. Let's see, Leon. Why contemporary rom-com fiction? I see you writing a bazillion. So I don't write contemporary rom-com. I was saying that the cover communicated contemporary rom-com more than it communicated romantasy. That was what I was saying. So nothing I write is contemporary. That my brain doesn't work that way. It won't do it. But yeah, awesome. All right, so I think, yep, the feedback form's in there, and the giveaway for the giveaways. And I can see, oh, thank you. They've also put a link up to my author design services if you're interested. Thank you, Joe. And then you can buy all my books direct with the link that's in there. And Yeah, and I think I'm going to give you guys a good 15 minutes to be able to shift to your next thing. Maybe take a little bit of a break because I know how busy conferences can feel, especially when they're on YouTube and you've got like 5 things you could be watching. And so enjoy a little bit of a break before you jump in and go find the next what is the word I'm looking for? Presentation. That's the word I'm looking for. You can see it's been a long day. But thank you all so much for coming. I'm so glad. I hope this was helpful. If you have questions, if you're watching it on the replay, drop them into the comments. I will definitely jump into the comments and make sure that things get answered so that we can keep the conversation going, because this is one of those things that is hard, and we want to make sure that if it's something that we can make work for you, then that is the most important thing. Is we want to make sure that the book covers are working, that they're doing their job, because a book cover is a tool, and if you want to hear me rant about that, I've got a whole playlist about it. So thank you so much for coming to the Authortube Writing Conference, for coming to this presentation, for watching it on replay. I super appreciate it. I hope you guys have an amazing rest of your day, and I will see you in the other streams.